September is PCOS Awareness Month, so I felt like this was a great time to make this video. I was diagnosed with Polycystic Ovarian Syndrome, or PCOS, in May of this year. Before I was diagnosed, I knew barely anything about it. I had heard of it before, but I didn't know anything really important about it. This video is not only to raise awareness, but it's also for people who are going through the things that I went through and I'm still going through, to let them know that they're not alone. Before I get into this, there's going to be talk about periods and female organs, so if you're going to have an issue with that, I wouldn't watch this video, but I would highly encourage that you do watch this video because it's very important to raise awareness. Like my heart condition, this story starts in the middle of 2018. My period was almost 2 weeks late and there was no possible way that I could have been pregnant, so it was a bit out of the ordinary for me, especially for my body, considering my period was usually on time every single month. I never had any issues with it before then. My mum had just recently spoken to me about seeing if I could get on the pill because it helps reduce symptoms and things like that, but because I'd never had any issues really, I kind of just said, yeah, okay, maybe one day. But when my period was 2 weeks late, I messaged her immediately and was like, yeah, maybe we should go to the doctor, just so I had one less thing that I had to worry about. At this time, I was seeing the same doctor from my heart condition video, just because my family had been going to him for a couple of years and they never had any issues, so I just naturally went to him as well. When we went into the doctors, my mum did all the talking. I was quite uncomfortable talking about it as well, so he ended up putting me on the same pill that my mum was on because he figured that if it worked for my mum, then it would work for me, right? It did help with my period pain a little bit, and it did mostly regulate my periods again. But even after 2 years of taking it, I still felt like my body was getting used to it. Like my periods would still be out of whack sometimes. So that's a story about how and why I got onto the pill in the first place, just for a bit of context for the next part of the story. I started noticing excess body hair when I was about 15. This video is a bit daunting for me to make because it's my biggest insecurity, but I'm hoping that by putting myself out there and being honest that it'll help raise awareness and bring comfort to anyone who's also going through the same thing. I get hair on my chin, my face, my upper lip, my knuckles, my feet. I've always had a lot of arm hair, my chest, and the one that bothers me the most is my stomach, around my belly button specifically. I've tried waxing, I've tried shaving, I've tried hair removal cream, but even when you manage to get rid of the hair right down to the skin, there's still little dots there and you can tell that hair grows there. By the way, when I talk about hair on my stomach, I'm not talking about like the tiny thin little light blonde hairs that you get on your stomach. I'm talking about hair that is the same colour as my natural hair colour. It's very noticeable. I always just gave it the benefit of the doubt and assumed that, or maybe it's because I have light skin and dark hair, maybe it's just something in my genetics and I'm just the unlucky one out of my family. I've googled it before to see if there's anything you can do about it, and PCOS always was a reoccurring thing that came up in the search results. I never thought that it was PCOS because I didn't have any of the other symptoms at that time. Earlier this year, I needed to go to the doctor for something completely unrelated. The excess hair had been bothering me quite a lot, so I decided that while I was at the doctor's, I would just mention it just to reassure myself and get peace of mind that this is just how I am, you know, and there's nothing I can do about it. I asked my mum to make me an appointment with a female doctor just because I'm more comfortable around females than males. That was also the first time that I ever went into the doctor's by myself without one of my parents being with me. I was really embarrassed about the hair situation and I felt so ashamed of myself and my body that I'd never told anyone before, not even my mum. So I wanted to go in by myself and just talk to the doctor without anyone else being there because I was so embarrassed. I'm at the doctor's appointment, and after I'd spoken about what I originally went there for, I said, just another thing I want to check up on. I feel like I have excess body hair. She looked at my arms and my face and I showed her my stomach. Straight away she says, you might have PCOS. She mentioned that in order to test for PCOS I had to be off the pill for 2 months. She also mentioned that the pill that I was on is not one that someone who is on the pill for the first time should be on. And this was after the whole heart condition fiasco, so that just reinforced that the male doctor I was seeing wasn't very considerate, should we say. So I went off the pill for 2 months, and while I was off the pill, my periods started to become irregular again, and I also started experiencing abdominal pain, not just when I was actually on my period, but also when I wasn't, just in general. Just daily I would just get, abdominal aches and pains. So I was experiencing what my body was like naturally without the pill. So after I'd been off the pill for 2 months, I went for a blood test and the blood test was to test basically your hormones to see what kind of hormones are the most present in your body. I went back to my doctor and she was looking at the results and she said, yeah, it looks like you definitely have PCOS. So I have the results here, I'll just summarize them for you. Testosterone, which is a male hormone, if you don't know. The normal level for testosterone in females is between 0.2 and 1.8. Mine was at 2.1, so it was higher than usual. The normal level for androgen index is 0.3 to 4, and mine was at a 5, so that was high as well. The pathologist made a comment on my results saying, combined results suggestive of polycystic ovary syndrome. My doctor said, yeah, it looks like you definitely have PCOS. We're going to do an ultrasound of your uterus just to see what's going on in there. I have the results here on paper, but I'll actually put in the ultrasound pictures, just interesting to look at. The uterus and endometrium was all normal, everything was fine there. So this is my right ovary. This is what a normal ovary looks like. You'll notice it's very round, it's clear, there's nothing inside it. It's quite small as well. Now this is my left ovary, and as you can see there's a big difference. It's very big, it's quite enlarged, it's not nice and round like it's supposed to be. And you can see it's not very clear inside. All those little white dots are cysts. There are over 20 of them. The woman who did my ultrasound wrote in the comments, features may suggest unilateral polycystic disease. If it wasn't confirmed before, it's confirmed now. When I went back to the doctor and she was looking at my ultrasound, she was saying that I could get another ultrasound of my ovaries in a couple of months and it would be my right ovary that was affected instead of my left one. So it switches around all the time. The little cysts that I mentioned release hormones that are prominently found in males, and that's why you get the excess hair and things like that, because typically that's where hair grows on males. I'm going to read out the symptoms of PCOS and effects of PCOS and just explain how that relates to me. First of all, infertility, which I don't have to worry about right now. Weight gain, fatigue and insomnia. We all know I struggle with fatigue because of my heart condition. So hearing that I also have another condition that causes fatigue. Excessive hair, thinning hair, which I don't experience luckily. Skin symptoms, acne and dark skin patches. Mood issues, so depression, anxiety and mood swings. Yes, I had no idea that PCOS even affected that. I've struggled with anxiety for a very, very long time. Pelvic pain. Yes, we know. The pill was actually stopping me from experiencing that, so I guess that's a good thing, but also at the same time, because I didn't have pelvic pain on the pill, I was like, yeah, it can't be PCOS. Headaches, I get a lot of headaches, and insulin resistance. If you watched my heart condition video and I mentioned that when I went for my diabetes test, my blood sugar levels were still very high after the 2-hour mark, this is why. I had no idea until a few weeks ago actually, that PCOS affects your insulin levels. Insulin resistance, if you don't know what it is, I'll explain it to you. So, a resistance to the hormone insulin. I didn't even know insulin was a hormone. I am dumb. The hormone insulin helps control the amount of sugar or glucose in the blood. With insulin resistance, the body cells don't respond normally to insulin. So glucose can't enter the cells as easily, so it just builds up in the blood. I remember my doctor mentioning, my body needs sugar to function, but at the same time my body can't seem to make use of it, so it just stays in my body for a very long time. To have that previously unexplained, to now understand that it's because of PCOS, it's like closure, kind of. Like, I understand why my body is acting like this now. To have that finally solved is an awesome feeling, but at the same time it's like, oh. So my doctor put me on a new pill. The pill I was on before that my mum was taking was called Fem. The pill that I'm on now is called Yaz. It's supposed to help with symptoms of PCOS, specifically the excess hair, because I did mention that bothers me a lot. So the doctor said this should help. How I manage my PCOS. So with my PCOS, I get a lot of lower back pain. It's the same lower back pain that you get when you're on your period, except I get it all the time. I get a lot of abdominal aches and pains. To manage my pain, I take Panadol. I can't take Nurofen because of my heart condition. I'll get chest pains if I take Nurofen. But I take Panadol for my pain, which helps about 80%. It never helps completely, but that's to be expected. I recently bought this electronic massager. You just like put it around your neck, usually. and then it's got like balls in it that rotate when you press the button. I put this on my lower back. I got this off Amazon. I think it was like $70, but it's so worth it. So that basically finishes this video about PCOS. If you want to learn more about it, Google has so many pages. If you're experiencing any of the symptoms that I mentioned, definitely go see a doctor. Go see a female doctor or a male doctor that actually takes your concerns seriously, especially when it comes to having issues with reproductive organs and pain. If you have PCOS, you're not alone. 1 in 10 women have PCOS, most of which don't even know it. I always just disregarded my symptoms as just what being a female is. It's just my genetics, which it was my genetics because it runs in my family. But if you feel like something is wrong, please go to the doctor. Thank you so much for watching. September is PCOS Awareness Month. It's a very important topic because women with PCOS are more likely to get endometrial cancer. If you are at risk and you can get in early and be aware of it, it could save your life.